Sleeping Dogs has had a bit of a confused and shaky development history. It was originally going to be called Black Lotus, a new open-world adventure game developed by United Front. But then publisher Activision decided it would be better if the game was aligned with a well-known IP, and announced that it would be the next game in the true crime series, True Crime Hong Kong. But after more development delays, it was then abandoned by Activision and picked up by Square Enix, who have now renamed the game Sleeping Dogs.
Certainly a game that had to fight its way out of potential disaster, but has it all been worth it?
For the time being, you may continue your operations in this area, but the percentage previously paid to Winston will now go to Mr. Lee.
That's an interesting proposition. But I have a counteroffer from Mr. Lee.
It's certainly no easy task going up against the godfather of open-world games, Grand Theft Auto, which consistently sets the bar. But the streets of Hong Kong and the game's involving plot immediately set it apart, giving it a voice of its own. And speaking of voices, there's a stellar cast here with everyone from Tom Wilkinson to Lucy Liu and Emma Stone.
My name's Amanda, by the way. Or Amy. Either one is fine.
Oh, nice to meet you, Amy.
Wei Shen?
You play as Wei Shen, a US detective who's been seconded to the Hong Kong police force. The Organised Crime and Triad Bureau in Hong Kong send you undercover into the very heart of the Triad Society to infiltrate a gang called the Sun On Yee and take them down.
Playing both sides of this game mixes up the types of missions you'll be undertaking. You're constantly having to run shady deals with your Sun On Yee brothers while performing surveillance work and arrests for the Hong Kong police. Almost all of the missions here will see you getting involved in some sort of fisticuffs with other gang members. The combat here is brawler-inspired, and it's such a nice change from other open-world games, which often just focus on gunplay. I never get tired of tackling people.
Wei has been trained in the art of Kung Fu, and when starting out in earlier missions, he uses these techniques to fight his way through the tougher, grittier parts of town. Like games such as the Batman Arkham series, this kind of brawling relies heavily on counters. When an enemy glows red, you counter the attack and follow it up with a series of combos, more of which you'll learn along the way by completing missions for your Kung Fu master.
Woo! Too much time with your girlfriend.
I found the AI a bit hit or miss. It's often best to wait for them to come at you first and then knock them down with a few counters so you can get some breathing room. But sometimes if you don't make the first move, everyone just hangs out in this awkward standoff.
Yeah, it's the game trying to goad you into a weaker position, because as soon as you go for that first shot, the enemy's going to make life difficult for you by coming around, flanking you and interrupting your combos. And in that I actually thought the AI was pretty good. How did you find the missions?
I thought they were mostly good, but we have seen most of it before as well. Tail a guy, escape the cops, take pictures for evidence, shootouts in nightclubs, and there are some romantic missions you can have a bit of fun with.
I'm feeling especially naughty tonight. You're going to help me with that?
Thank you for the date, then.
But some of the cop missions that involved hacking I found very tedious, and I avoided them if they weren't part of the main story.
I think this is the first game where I've actually enjoyed the hacking minigames. I thought they were quite sophisticated. But mostly I just love that whole idea of playing both sides. It adds that extra level of danger to the mix. And more than that, you get different kinds of XP for completing both kinds of missions. There are plenty of cop-driven side quests for you to do that generally involve beatdowns, surveillance, or tracking down vehicles, and those reward you with a fair amount of cash, as well as XP to spend in your cop-specific tree.
Completing Triad missions will do the same for your Triad XP tree, and this increases your face value around the streets of Hong Kong and increases how much you're respected by locals and other Triad members. You can also rapidly increase your face value by doing help quests for random citizens, and you'll need to do it if you want to purchase swankier clothing and gear to look the part as you move up in the world.
Destruction of property and killing innocents all zaps points out of your police XP, and while I didn't worry too much about running over lampposts, I like that there's extra incentive there not to just mindlessly kill people.
Yeah, and you know, Grand Theft Auto always comes under scrutiny and is the punching bag when it comes to running over people in games. It's always said that it's encouraged in that game, which is the complete opposite. It's not encouraged. You're penalised with police chasing you for doing that. And so having an extra incentive is a smart move, I think.
It is, because you want those points as well, as many of the police XP points you get to do with guns and firearms, which will really come in handy in the later half of the game. I still did it a few times anyway through sheer negligent driving or hitting the wrong button, but I felt bad about it afterwards.
This will look good.
Gotta stop bailing out of a vehicle while it's still moving.
But that's the best entrance you can make, Hex.
What's where you going?
Speaking of vehicles, there's a large range to choose from. From sports bikes to chicken trucks and even boats. Starting out in the dodgier area of town is a bit frustrating at first because all you've got are boring vans and dodgy sedans to hijack. Although these can be good for navigating those tight corners. But that first mission, which takes you to the ritzy end of Hong Kong, where you can hijack your first sports car, it was like a breath of fresh air.
I also really liked the way on-screen markers will appear in the street to help you navigate to your objective. It saves you from always being glued to that mini-map. And the Hong Kong streets have some delicious curves and winding causeways that make reckless driving shameless fun, especially missions that involve leaping from car to car and shooting out tyres. Blah. But Barjo, no matter how high I climbed, no matter how successful I got, I'm still just Hex from the block, and I'll never forget my days as a smart car gangster.
As a player, it's easy to get carried away with all the rewards that the Triad life brings. And as you delve deeper into the game's story, this is reflected in the way that things become more complicated for its protagonist as well. Not to mention that his position becomes increasingly dangerous as the work he's doing for the Hong Kong police starts to make waves, and then his loyalty to the son On Yi starts to get questioned.
You come in out of nowhere and suddenly our guys start to get arrested?
This creates some serious tension. While it's not the first time we've seen this kind of story, I found it wonderfully engaging.
I was totally hooked on the story. Each cutscene plays out really well, and this is largely due to the fact that some real time was taken to find some top actors to give some really believable performances. Will Yun Lee as Wei is particularly good.
You're a cop. I'm an undercover cop. The rules are different.
And as Wei works hard to prove himself to his crew as triad-worthy muscle, it becomes apparent that it's not all black and white, good guys versus bad guys here.
I like the way you think. That's the attitude that makes us strong.
Every character walks a line, and the sense of family within this gang becomes quite conflicting for both the player and for Wei.
Oh, it's so nice to find someone you can really rely on. I can see why Winston likes you.
Playing this, I was so torn that I got really nervous about how it was all going to end.
Yeah, I didn't expect to get this attached to these characters, but I did. As you start to climb the ranks in the Sun On Yi triad, things start to ramp up and there's a shift to more cover-based shootouts. You get a nice slow motion ability in the gunplay that allows you to leap over an obstacle and shoot multiple targets Max Payne style. Using slow motion is limited, but on top of taking human shields, it all adds to that high-stakes gangster feel.
Yeah, and there's a real fluidity to the movement in this game. Climbing up onto or over obstacles is easy, and in running chases, the game guides you with glints and gleams so that you never have to break your stride. It has finesse, but we should wrap this up. What did you think of it, Barjo?
I was a bit disappointed visually. It's not the sort of game that makes me want to go take a boat ride, you know. It doesn't have that creative art focus that you see in a lot of these open world games. And there's no multiplayer either, but what it does do is set itself apart from Grand Theft Auto. This certainly feels authentic. And I love the way that the characters slipped in and out of Chinese, especially in the most heated arguments.
Come on, we can work something out, right?
I liked it, Hex. I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I loved it. I know it's a personal thing, but I was just so much more drawn into the story than I was with GTA 4 because I was invested in Wei as a character and I shared in his conflict. Plus, the setting of Hong Kong is just so cool. Everything from vendors selling dumplings as power-ups to the bright lights to karaoke minigames. It just has a wealth of character, and I think after all the drama these devs went through, they really came out on top, so I'm giving it 9.
We done?
Yeah, we're done.
Good game.